Is your team giving you a long list of excuses for why they're not developing leaders? In today's video, I'm going to give you actions that you can take to dial down the culture of excuses and dial up a culture of equipping. Hey guys, this is Mac Lake bringing you tips, tools, and techniques for developing leaders. And today I want to give you 3 actions that you can take when your leaders are giving you excuses for not developing more leaders. Now, you and I understand the importance of leadership development. But unfortunately, not everybody in our team always does. In fact, they tend to make excuses for not developing leaders. Well, I don't have time, or my people don't have time, or no one's ready to be developed, or I already have enough leaders. I mean, the list is limitless. So what we have to do, it's our job as the leader of the organization, leader of the department, or leader of the team to eliminate the excuses. We have to help our team members understand that the long-term health and vitality of our organization is dependent on a constant reproduction of new leaders. We've got to eliminate the excuses. Now, what is an excuse? An excuse is a perception that is based in deception that creates a limitation. Did you get that? It's a perception based in a deception that produces a limitation. It's the false thinking of some of our leaders that limits them from actually producing more leaders. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 actions you can take to dial down the culture of excuses and dial up a culture of equipping. Action number 1 is challenge the assumptions of your team. Whenever I'm working with an organization, helping them build their intentional leadership development strategy, the very first exercise I do with them is I break the team into small groups. I give them a giant Post-it and I give them this question. Make a long list of all the challenges that keep people from developing leaders. About 10 minutes later, they've got this big long list. I bring them back together and I say, okay, now let's talk about which challenges or excuses are most true of you as an organization. So we work together and we build a list of maybe 3 to 5 that are most true of them. And then I tell them this, guys, organizations that do a bad job with leadership development, these are the excuses, these are the challenges they face. And then the organizations that do a great job with leadership development, they face this very same list of challenges. They just decide to bust through them. So if you want to eliminate the excuses in your culture, then you have to challenge the assumptions of your team. I encourage you, do this exercise with your team. Come up with the top 3 challenges that your team has identified as the challenges that keep them from developing leaders. And then spend a little bit of time brainstorming, how can we overcome these challenges? Maybe just pick one of them. How can we overcome this challenge? And brainstorm it and come up with some actions and new behaviors your team needs to exhibit in order to eliminate that excuse. And then 30, 60 days later, come back and evaluate and ask them this question. Hey guys, what progress have we made? Are we getting any better at this? Are we eliminating that excuse, or is it still stuck in our culture? And just keep doing this and begin to eliminate one excuse after another until you've actually built a culture of leadership development. Action number 2 is coach them from excuses to equipping. Coach them from excuses to equipping. Let me tell you what I mean. A lot of times, I really believe our leaders want to develop other leaders, but they're just stuck. They're stuck. They're stuck because of the limitation of their own excuse. And a lot of times I've found that people are more comfortable with their excuses than they are with change. And so what we have to do is we have to help coach them from that excuse to the point they can begin equipping other leaders. Now, here's what I recommend. Asking 3 questions. Sitting down one-on-one with one of your leaders who's struggling with leadership development, asking this question. Number 1, what's holding you back? What's holding you back from developing leaders? Ask them that question, let them answer. Now, don't just take their first answer. Probably their first answer is going to be, well, I just don't have time. And that may be a legitimate excuse. I don't know. But dig a little deeper, because a lot of times you're going to discover that I don't have enough time is a smokescreen that actually hides a deeper excuse. So don't just take their first excuse at face value. Dig in a little deeper. Second question. How many leaders do you need? How many new leaders do you need if we were to grow by, say, 15%? So when you sit down with them, tell them to bring a list of all of their leaders under their particular area. And then calculate with them how many additional leaders would we need if the organization were to grow. Now that gives you a baseline to establish a goal. And then the third question, it's real simple. How can I help you? How can I help you move forward? How can I help you become an equipper? And then just based on the excuse they gave and based on the number that you worked on together, determine what you need to do to help them make progress. Now, it gives you two little tools for ammunition, okay? Number one, you know what their excuse is, so you know specifically where to coach them. And number two, you know where their goal is, so you can help hold them accountable. So just meet with them regularly and help them make progress to eliminate that excuse and begin equipping. Action number 3 is celebrate leadership development. We've all heard the phrase, what celebrated gets replicated. Well, we know that, but we don't always practice that. I was leading a church one time and I kept telling everybody, hey, the discipleship and small groups, that's the big deal. That's the big priority right now. But nobody was doing it. And I was getting frustrated because some of the young leaders on my team were celebrating, hey, we just had 200 people at this event or 100 people at this event. And they were celebrating those things and I was really confused. I was like, that's great, but what we're trying to focus on right now is discipleship and small groups. Couldn't get them to do it. Then I realized what was happening. I was standing up and celebrating the big numbers. Hey, we had record Sunday this Sunday. Hey, we had big attendance at this. And so what was happening is what I was celebrating was getting replicated. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you're having a team meeting and all your staff is together and you bring, Joe on stage. And you say, hey, everybody, I want to introduce you to Joe. Joe's one of our new leaders. Everybody give it up for Joe. Let's applaud Joe because he's now volunteering to be one of our leaders and we all applaud that, right? What am I celebrating? I'm celebrating the addition of a new leader. But imagine this. Let's say that I say, hey, I want to ask Ben to come on stage. And Ben comes on stage and I say, hey guys, I want you to understand something. Ben has been working really hard developing some new leaders recently. And I've asked Ben to come on stage today because I want him to introduce somebody to you. And then Ben introduces Joe, the new leader. And then when he finishes, I say, hey everybody, let's give Ben a hand. Great job developing a new leader. What did I celebrate? This time, I celebrated leadership development. What gets celebrated gets replicated. So make sure, if you want to eliminate the excuses in your culture and create a culture of equipping, celebrate leadership development. So guys, there are dozens of excuses for not developing leaders that can make their way into our culture. I hope these 3 actions help you begin to eliminate the excuses and begin to build a culture of equipping. Hope you enjoyed the video today. Make sure you subscribe and also encourage your team to subscribe so that you can discuss the questions together that are provided in the description below. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.